Hello guys, so welcome back to The Crew 2. Foggy The Crew 2. The weather has changed with the hotshots update, and the frequency is a bit too much, that is for sure. There has been some surveys going on already, and it seems that the majority of the community is not happy with this, and I can understand that. If you play for an hour, you're gonna get like 2-3 times rain, you're gonna get 1 time snow, sometimes even 2 times. I don't know why they changed it. My guess is it has to do with casuals who were complaining that they did not see rain or snow enough, and that's my guess. Because yeah, what is this with casuals? They play for like 20-30 minutes a day, or maybe an hour a week, or something like that, and that's it. Of course, the hardcore players, especially people that are involved in summits and so, they are doing stuff. If you do an escape skill like 5 or 10 times, you're gonna get foggy, you're gonna get rain, you can't see where you're going. Yeah, people are not happy with this. That being said, it has been reported several times to the dev already. We will see what they do with it. Obviously, it's not going to change overnight, but if they go by the surveys and so that we have doings, then they know we are not happy with it, and they might change it in the upcoming patch next Wednesday or so. We will see how that goes. On a personal note, I am moving within 12 to 18 hours to an apartment. That also means that in the next couple of days I will not have internet. My internet couldn't sort it out in time, so it will only be connected on Tuesday in the apartment, so I will be back on Tuesday night, which of course means that in the upcoming weekend and also on Monday you will not see me online, and you will also not see that many videos. But I saw a lot of comments in the videos that I did recently about settings and all that kind of stuff. Now, in general, when you take a car, first of all, of course, you have the input. I play on a keyboard, for those who don't know that yet. For those who are new to the channel, I'm a keyboard player. And that means that in general, if we go to any car, it doesn't matter that much. Because in general, I have this same problem all over, and that is the cars do not steer that much. That has to do with the fact that this key mapping thing is all fine. The controls is a bit of a problem. If you play on a controller, you can fine-tune the steering linearity, the dead zone, and all that kind of stuff, also for throttle and for brakes. It's completely grayed out for the keyboard. It is also completely grayed out for wheels, as far as I know, but yeah, they might have some wheel settings to go with your wheel software or something that they can change. Over here, we can't change anything. Only a controller can fine-tune here, which means that dead zone linearity, if you change that, like that linearity is in the middle now, more than likely it needs to be all the way to the end before this car to make steering. So you can of course change something with the pro settings. But in general, those first four settings, doesn't matter which car I take. If I go to the pro settings, in general I have it at 99999. That's what I mean. 9 is 0 is all the way left, 10 or 100% of the bar is all the way right. You will see me sometimes refer to percentages. Then I talk about 10, 20, 30 up to 100, or I talk about 0 to 1, 0 to 10 scale. Then I talk about. So this is like 9, 9, 9, 9. This is about 20. This is 40. This is 10, 10, 10, 10, and so on. That is sort of how it goes. It also seems that of all of these cars here with the recent patch, I have noticed that the suspension settings are always 50, 50, 50, 50% or 5, 5, 5, 5. I don't know how it is with you guys, but that seems to be the case in my thing here. Now, I saw, especially about in the drift videos, I saw all kind of settings issues. So we will quickly go over the settings that I have at the moment on my drift car. Completely maxed out, recalibrate, as you could see in the, so it has slippery 14, hot head 8% on it. If I put the Affix stats over here, you will only see 2. Slippery 123, 50 extra from the car itself, sort of the standard multiplier. That means that the multiplier can go to 173. The hot head is 66%. The hot head, the faster you go, the more points you score, but also it makes the multiplier go up faster. Mainly has to do with the fact when if you lose the multiplier in the beginning of the run, you can still get it up to the maximum pretty quickly due to the hot head. But of course, it's not the idea that you lose the multiplier in a drift, is it? We go to the pro settings here. I did for once, compared to any other car, I changed the first 4 general settings. These first 4 are the global settings. That means that they will apply to the whole discipline. If I have, like I have it here now, no matter what other drift car I take, these 4 first will always be the same. I have that at 2, 8, 2, 5. So that means I put the traction control less, I put the stability control less, ABS, I have it on 8, but you can as well put it on 0 or on 10. Has to do with the braking. I don't use brakes in drift, just a little tap here and there to correct the car a little bit. The drift assist, of course, normally I have that on 9. I don't want drift assist too much now, so I put it lower. I also did not put it all the way to the left for the simple reason I don't want to lose the car in every corner. So I put it somewhere in the middle. The aero distribution is at 4. The gearbox doesn't matter that much because I do the drift in manual and I switch to 3rd gear in the start and I never touch it again. I do my whole run in 3rd gear. If you're on a wheel and if you're familiar with drifting, you can go also use 4th gear. But with a keyboard, I advise you, especially in the beginning, just keep it in 3rd gear. Tire grip front as much as I can, put it on 10. The tire grip on the rear, I don't want that much grip on the rear, so I put it a little bit lower. I have it on 8. The brake power, same story as with the ABS, not really important. I barely use the brakes. So you can put it on 8, on 5, on 10, doesn't matter that much. The brake balance, I sort of put in the middle. You can do that one click to the left or the right. Again, braking not that important in drifting. Suspension, as I said, for some reason or another, they have changed this to 5555 for as well for the compression as for the rebound. What that all means, we will come to that in a second. But it mainly has to do with jumps and bumpy roads and stuff. In a drift, you usually have a smooth surface, either on a circuit or somewhere in the city. Not that big of a deal, these suspension settings. Camber, on the other hand, is a big deal. Camber has to do with how much grip you have in a corner, and so compared to the long straights. If you put it all the way to the left, you're going to have a lot of power or a lot of grip in the corner. That's why I have this thing at 0 in the front. I want to have as much power on the front wheels as possible on my Mazda to get it out of there. Because these bottom settings, they are of course only for the Mazda. If I want to go to another car, I have to do these settings again. The camera in the rear, I put way towards the positive side. So you would say like left is negative, rear is positive. That's how it usually is in games. But in these games, apparently there is some issue here and there on some vehicles where it seems to be the complete opposite. And the anti-roll bars, as soft as you can get them, so I put it on 10-10. That's always in general you have with the anti-roll bars. If you put them more to the right, it's going to make them more stiffer. You're going to get more understeer. If you put them more to the left, you're going to get more oversteer. So it's always, you always need to find a balance. The anti-roll bar and the front and the rear, together with the aero distribution, always some settings that you have to play around with to get understeer or oversteer under control. Now, obviously, this is a 2-wheel drive car. If you have a 4-wheel drive car, let's see, does Skyline have 4-wheel drive in this drifting? No, it doesn't. Let's see, do we have a 4-wheel drive car? Mercedes maybe? Yeah, the Mercedes is 4-wheel drive. If it's a 4-wheel drive car, then you also have the differential distribution as an extra setting. Also this has to do with like the power that you get either on the front wheels or on the rear wheels. If you put it in the middle, then you have power on 4 wheels. But where do you want the most power? If you put it on towards the rear, yeah, you might have some wheel spin on the rear, especially if it's a rear-wheel drive car. You might be spinning for hours before you actually move. Figure of speech. If you put it to the front, you're going to have more front grip, but yeah, more power to the front wheels might also mean some wheel spin, and then also you do not move that. So it's a bit balancing it out here or there. That's sort of a quick explanation on it. Now there are some settings around there. You can find them on Reddit or so, whatever. This is, for instance, is for the boats. So the global settings are always for all your boats, and there you only have like the drift assist. And the drift assist has to do with how much grip you have on the water in a way, but of course that's all personal taste, how much you want the boat in this case to fly over. The waste distribution is more or less working as a lean back, lean forward situation thing. If you put it to the left, the slider, then it will be more like less weight reduction, and that means that you would lean backwards. So you're going to get more speed, but you have less control. If you put it to the right, you're going to have more control. It's more like you lean forward, and that is more control, but you're going to have less speed. So also there, you need to find a balance, what is working for you. The rudder angle pretty much means that if you put it more to the right, it will make you turn faster, so you can do better corners, but again, at the cost of speed. If you put it more to the left, you're going to get more speed, but it makes you harder to turn. The braking power, yeah, as always, more to the right will give you more braking power, but also on the boats. In general, I don't use the brakes. So braking power, not that important in my opinion. The buoyance is how floaty the boat is. And the more to the right you put this thing, it will give the boat more surface above the water. So then you're sort of flying above the water, which of course makes it a bit less controllable. Because yeah, if you're like sort of hanging above the water, you cannot steer that much. So yeah, also there you need to balance it out. The hull friction is the resistance of the water to the boat, which means that if you put it to the left, less allows for more sweet water drifting. Drifting, it's a nice thing to do if you want to have fun, but it also tells me drifting is slower. That means that if you're drifting in a corner or on the water or wherever it is, you're always going to cost you some speed. So that's not really. I think I have that pretty much high towards the right side because I don't want to be water drifting. I want to be speedy and going ahead. And the trim tab, uh, more or less, has to do with, for instance, an S corner. It will allow you quicker to transition between left and right turns. Now, if you put it more to the right, it's allowing you to do that very fast. You can do a very fast, like left, right, turns. But again, as usual, more control is less speed. So also here, if you put this more to the right, you're going to get less speed. That is sort of for the water. Now we come to the ground vehicles. The first four, as I just said, in my case, most of the time I have it on 9999. That's only for the drift I made exceptions. But it is in general, it's the traction control. It's the limits of wheel spin that you get when you throttle. And it's pretty simple. If you put it more to the left, to the less traction control, it allows the tires to lose grip more frequently. You kind of want to have some grip. So I put it, that's why I have it on 9. I want to have all the grip I can get because the steering is what it is with the keyboard. So I need to have some grip for sure. The ABS, of course, has to do with the braking. If you put it all the way to the right, it sort of will stimulate your pressing and depressing the brake pedal. And that makes it that you can somewhat steer while fully on the brakes. Also here I have it on 9. If you put it more to the left side, you have a chance that your wheels lock up. But some people like that. They want to have like instant braking power, locking up the tires, and then but then of course you cannot steer. So you have to go off the throttle before you can steer then. So also there. ESP is the electronic stability protection, and that you need to have to look at it the traction control, but at an electronic level. more to the right side, more to the plus side, it will limit the power on the car in order to maintain traction. So I have the ESP very high, but if you want to have like instant power and instant traction, you want to have a bit, you want to go reduce this a bit. The end feel is that the car is slower in the corners, but less likely to slide. So yeah, it makes you a bit more stable. That's where the stability comes into that name. But of course, it always is compared to the speed. You need to find a balance between cornering and speed. You don't want to lose too much speed. So personal help, how you the slide help or drift assist, as it's called on some vehicles, is pretty much more to the plus side, to the right side, will help you maintain a slide and transition into a new one. So the higher you put that, the more assist you will get from the game. If you want to have like go wild with it, you just put that thing all the way to the left, and then you don't have any help on it, and then then you can do spins as much as you want. Not really something you want, to be honest, because there's a greater chance you're gonna spin out and do a 180 or even a 360. Might be something you can use in drift. That's why I put it somewhere in the middle at 4 or 5, 40-50% of the bar, and then it slides a little bit, and that's exactly what you want in drift. But for racing, pretty much to the high side, I would say. Then you have the aero distribution. It pretty much means that if you put it less towards the front, so you go more to the rear, it will cause understeer. So that is what I already mentioned before. The aero as well as the anti-roll bars, it has to do with understeer, oversteer. You have to balance it out with the aero and the anti-roll bars. You have to play around with those sliders a little bit. If it's a four-wheel drive car, you will find the differential distribution, which pretty much means where do you want the power. You want to power on the front, you're going to put it on the front. You want power on the rear, put it on the rear. If you want to have power on all wheels, just more or less keep it in the middle. The gearbox, as always, that has to do with gear ratio. If you put it all the way to the right, you're going to have high top speed, not so much acceleration. If you put it to the left, you're going to have all about acceleration, not so much top speed. The tire grip, pretty much explainable. You can play around with these sliders to get sticky tires. But if you put it to the rear, it's going. If you put it more to the negative, to the left, to the negative side, let's follow that, then it's gonna produces understeer. If you're gonna put it more to the reduced rear, that's if you reduce the front. If you reduce the rear, it's gonna cause oversteer. So also with the tires, you can arrange it. That's why I have. If you do the reduced front, you're gonna get understeer. I don't want that. That's why I have, for instance, on my drift car, I have that on 10, the front. But the reduced rear produces oversteer. I want to have a bit of oversteer, so I put the rear tire on 8 for the drift car, which makes it oversteer a little bit, and that's exactly what you want in a drift car. So, but not too much. You do not want to spin it out. So that's why I have it on 8, 7, 8, something like that. You can put it. Brake power, of course, it's all the power you can get. If you put it on 10, but then you have the risk that you're locking up your brakes, and that also means your wheel's gonna lock up. So in general, I put it 1 or 2 clicks down at 8 or at 9. The brake power, pretty much, if you put that to the right, the brake balance, I mean, if you put it to the front, to the right side, that's usually the front, it will cause understeer. So that is something you have to play around with and see what it can do on your car. For some cars, it might work if you put it like pretty high. It will not immediately cause understeer. For other cars, it's going to give like heavy understeer. So also with the brake balance, you can more or less play around with the understeer and oversteer situation thing. Then we have the suspension comp, which stands for suspension compression. That is more or less how the car handles when it matters to suspension. Then we are talking about mostly about bumps and jumps and so on. So the compression, the comp, as it is mentioned in the menu, that more or less is the upwards travel over a bump when you're like upwards travel of the wheel, that is. So that's how the car, more or less, how the suspension and the car handles when you are more or less on the bump. In general, as well for the compression as for the rebound for suspension, the more plus you put it, the more to the right you put it, the stiffer the car will get. That might be good, for instance, for the rebound. The rebound has more to do with the landing after a jump, how the car reacts and how the suspension reacts. If you put it softer, you might get like some bouncy stuff going on, like that you bounce a few times before it actually starts driving again. If you put it more stiffer, more towards the right side, you're gonna have pretty stable landings, but you're gonna have the car is gonna settle faster, but it might settle so fast that you like that the car has a bit of a problem and sort of spins out or something. So you have to balance that out a little bit as well. In general, put it more to the stiffer side, to the right side, to the front, if you want to have off-road vehicles and so. That's more to the right side. Other than that, you want to have it as soft as possible, as soft as the car can handle. On a racetrack, the suspension, you can put it as soft as possible, although some of the racetracks are a bit bumpy, so don't put it at 0, but put it at 20, 30, something like that. That's more or less what the suspension is. To the left, you're going to have more bouncy situations. To the right, it's going to make it stiffer. However you want. You want a stable car, but don't make it too stable. That's it. That's what you need to do there. Then the camber is a bit of a problem, as we mentioned before, because in theory, if you go to the left, which is the negative side, you have negative camber. Makes the car steer better, makes the car steer faster into the corners and so. To the right side, it's the opposite, but it is in this game it is a bit tricky. And then the anti-roll bars, as I already mentioned, it has to do with the body roll, obviously, but if you put it more to the right side, it allows less body roll. That again stiffens the car. Stiffening the car, that might cause understeer. If you put it more to the right, it makes the car a bit looser, and then you're going to get easier oversteer. But you need to balance that out in combination with the aero distribution and the brake balance. That's where your understeer, oversteer thing is. Those are these three that you really need to have a look on. Anti-roll bars, aero distribution mainly, but you can here and there adjust a little bit with the brake balance as well. Now, if we go back to the game for a second, if I can, because of course we were talking for quite a while. We had some issues, especially with fast cars, hypercars, and so. And then, of course, where is the Formula One car? I have too many cars. I know there are filters, but yeah, I like to scroll through the list quickly. Now, the aero distribution and the anti-roll bars, I've been playing around with it, but then we come to the camber. The camber is by default. You see the little gray dots here. It's like what is that? 10, 20, I think. And then the rear camber is sort of in the middle. So you have like negative camber, which would make the cars steer in faster. But the thing is, if you steer with that thing, it's like sliding all over the place. The wheel spin. And so we are thinking, most people at least out there who know something about tuning, because something I haven't mentioned yet, I am not a tuner. I also, just like most of you guys, I have to play around with this and try to come up with some solution. I have the camber here now at 7.7, which would be like positive, crazy. You would think it would be needs to be negative to make better steering, but I actually have better steering with the positive side. So there are quite a few people in here that think that the camber in this game works completely opposite like in any other game. And so then the car makes it steer a bit better. At least that's the idea. You see, this car steers pretty good, and even at high speed. Pay attention to the wheels. Excuse me. I don't have any smoke. If you put the camber to the negative and you take a corner like this, you're gonna have smoke. This thing is gonna smoke. I don't have any smoke by putting the camber positive. So I think for the fast cars, it's just the other way around than you are used to it. Now what I immediately feel is that the car is a bit too stiff, so I have to play around a bit with the anti-roll bars or even with suspension setting. But we're in the city here, so it's not about jumps here. But all in all, it feels good. You can go left, right, left, right. Get out of my way, traffic. Try to explain something here to the people. No wheel spin, no smoke at all. Especially on sharp corners on the tracker, so you very often see the wheel spinning and smoking if you put the camber to the left. Now we have the rear wheel because I bumped it on the curb there. That's sort of what you see a lot of on tracks. Even using nitro, no wheel spin at all. Even a bit more would be even better, I think, on the rear. That has to do a little bit with the drifting thing. If you touch a curb, but then again, yeah, we're driving a Formula 1 car in the city. You're not supposed to touch curbs. So it definitely works with the camber thing. Pretty much, as you can see. Good steering. So, and here we have the rain again. Yes. Try to explain something in this game with the new weather sequence. Unbelievable. So that is mainly the camber is an issue thing on that paper here. Going back to that paper, we have done more or less the ground. Then we have the airs. Yeah, the global settings I usually do not change much on. The auto climb control, you can put it on or off. If you put it off, the plane will start dropping altitude. So yeah, as the word suggests, it sort of automatically keeps climbing a little bit if you have this thing on. So you always keep the plane in the air. If you put this off, you're not on the throttle, your plane will drop. So the same goes for the night flight assist. If you put that thing off, yeah, it will not help you maintain your level. So then you're gonna drop again, or you're gonna have some crazy situations going. So I would also advise you guys to put that on. Automatic landing gear is something you can put off if you want, but then of course you need an extra button to map the landing gear, because then you need to manually deploy it when you're going to land. So of course on some planes it is stable as it is. It's fixed, you can't pull it in, but some planes, like for instance the one that we are using in the Summit, has a landing gear which comes out and goes in again after it took off. So that is something, yeah, I don't bother with it, I just leave it all on. And all the rest I also do not change too much with. Oh, the plane reactivity is the sensitivity of the control stick or the keyboard or the wheel, your input, the sensitivity of your input. Yeah, if you put it more to the left, it reduces the control that you get on your plane, how quickly it reacts. More to the plus makes it snappy. I have that thing on 10. especially with a keyboard. I want to have that as high as possible. And then the stall, I have that all the way to the right as well, just like the reactivity. Did I say to the left? I mean to the right here. The stall has to do. You can perform tricks and turns, and but you have a chance at stalling the plane if you reduce this thing a bit too much. But you can gain some speed, but with the possibility of not being able to control your plane anymore. So also here, I don't want possibilities to uncontrollability. So I don't want all that stuff. I just have it on 10. The wings dihedral angle, or whatever it's called. There is like plus give you a better chance of roll rates and stuff like that. So in general, I have these things pretty high. I think I have the wings angle on 10 or on 9 at least. The jaw brightness is yeah, more or less the drifting in the air. And if you put it to the plus side, you can pretty much drift a little bit through the air. If you put it more to the left, to the negative side, then it reduces how much that plane will drift. Also here I have it pretty high. I think on 7 or 8 or so. The pitch briskness is the up and down efficiency of the plane. So it reduces the rate at which you fall and climb. So it's like the up and down. So it has to do with the leaning back and the leaning forward, how fast it all goes. I want that also here pretty fast, so I put it also pretty high. I think I have it on 7 or 8 as well. That thing. The roll briskness, yeah, pretty simple. If you want to roll your plane, for instance, in an aerobatic event, if you want to roll it quickly, I would suggest to put it as high as you can. If you don't want to do barrel rolls, it will always do barrel rolls, but if you reduce it, if you put it more to the negative side, it will do barrel rolls slower. So you want that roll briskness pretty high. Of course, you have the extreme button that you can use, which makes it roll faster as it is. Also here you can find a balance. Also here I have it pretty high, 7, 8, something like that. Then you have the stabilizer, also pretty self-explainable. That sort of keeps your airplane stable in the air. If you put it more to the plus side, it will cause your plane to constantly reduce altitude. So if you put it all the way to the right at 9 or at 10, your plane is constantly going to drop. If you put it all the way to the left, your plane is constantly going to climb. So you sort of want to have it towards. I have it towards the left side, towards the negative side. I sort of try to find a balance that it climbs a little bit, a few meters at a time, so that my plane doesn't fall. That's more or less. Of course, if you can find like the sweet spot, then your plane might actually fly pretty straightforward and not climb or fall. That is what you do with the stabilizer. And the same goes for the wings incidence. The more to the plus you put it, it will cause your plane to constantly increase altitude. So it more or less does the same as a stabilizer, but it has more to do with the wings. The stabilizer is the plane itself, and the wings incidence. It's also here has to do with that has more. If you like to lean forward and play around with those wings and lean backwards, same story. So also that one I have pretty low. I think I have it at 3 or something. More the stabilizer and the wings, the incidence in both cases. The more you put it to the right, the more your plane will automatically drop. Might be convenient for some occasions. Other people like to have constantly climb, but not too high. So you need to find a balance there. What is working for you? I have the stabilizer. I think I even have it at 0 or at 1, and the wings I have at 3 or something like that. That being said, which brings us to this table. For those familiar with the channel and you saw this video of this Google document where More or less all these parts came into, we get some numbers from the dev, of course. Meanwhile, the recalibration is into game, and that also means that in game some of these things turned out to be changing. We have the what is it here? What is the hot hat? Over here, the hot hat, it says 3 to 10. That is not correct. That is 3 to 8. Meanwhile, I have adjusted the Google document for those who are still using it. And there are two more, which is the shifty and the drag bump. Also, they sort of go from 3 to 10 according to this chart, but that's not correct. It's from 3 to 8. In general, anything that starts with 3 in the legendary parts goes to 8, and anything that starts with 5 goes to 10. So the extra pump is indeed going to 10. The sensor is indeed going to 10. Gifted, skilled, magnificent is going to 10. But the hot hat and the shifty and the drag bump, they go to 8. So 8 is the maximum for those. That is also something I needed to mention here. And other than that, this Google document is still available, which you can see the video in the channel. Let's talk about performance. And I see that when I go on that Google document, usually there are people online watching it. So this is definitely a table a lot of people use. It more or less gives you the range of all these different affixes. It tells you more or less what the specific affixes do, and then best to use set combination. More or less give you some suggested here, and the same goes for the disciplines, suggested disciplines within that affix situation. With the recalibration into play, obviously it counts. That is, if you have enough money. Which is a bit of a problem. Although I have been playing Summit like crazy, as you can see here, 42,000 bucks. And I haven't doing anything stupidly with my 11 or 12 millions that I had. I just have been doing recalibration. The box price for that thing is way too high. It only works for people who have been playing this game for 8 months and have been grinding for 8 months for money, and they are like on the maximum box of 99,999,999. They can recalibrate every single vehicle that they want. All the rest of us gonna have to grind races because we are out of money after a while. What did I do? I did do what did we use? We used the aerobatic, the air race plane in the summit event. This thing here, this is completely recalibrated. What I have on here is perfectionist 6%, which is the maximum part, and gateway 4%, which is also the maximum part. This is not only on here, this is on here, here, on all 7. And I have a nitro chemist set. If I bring up the Affix stats, that gives, in combination with 25 points on the gateway and the perfectionist in the pilot thing here, that gives 35.5% gateway, which refills the nitro every time you have a perfect gate, which is quite important in the air race. And the perfectionist allows you the a bit wider angle, so you don't need to be that perfect into the gate. You can be a bit lower, a bit higher, a bit to the left, a bit to the right of that specific figure that you need to do. So it doesn't need to be that perfect. So I have like 52% more area to play around with, let's put it that way. So this plane that I did was not that expensive. Then we have the drift car, which I showed earlier. Also, that is sort of recalibrated, but over here it was not that costly, for the simple reason that I had that thing. If I go in here, over here the recalibration, as you can see, is on the maximum, 40,000. That's not for the slippery 14 because I had it already on it. It costed me 20 levels of recalibration to get that hot hat 8%. I did not have hot hat on this part. I first needed to look for the hot hat. Once I changed it into hot hat, then I needed to look for the higher suspension percentage. That's a bit of a problem. Let's have a look on this one. This one only costed 17,000. So here I probably already had the hot hat on it. I had to do a few recalibrations. The price went up to 16, 15, 16, something like that I paid. And now the price is at 17,000, but the thing is on the max. Over here, let's have a look. 8,800 I paid here. So the slippery I already had on. That already makes a big difference. I had slippery 14 on this part, so I only had to recalibrate the hot head. And for 8,800, I could get a hot head and the maximum percentage. So it is not always super expensive. Here, of course, I had a bit of a problem. I did not have hot head. I needed to look for the hot head, and then the percentage, 41,000 maximum price. And I had to do a few of those recalibrations probably. The same here. Slippery 14 was on it, so I needed to recalibrate only the hot head, which I already had on it, and that meant that I only had to recalibrate the percentage. That's why the price is only at 5,000 bucks. So this was a pretty cheap recalibration because I already had 5 parts with slippery 14. The two last ones I had slippery 13, and I think I also did not have hot head on it. And I think then it is pretty clear that I did have the hot head on this one, and I had to slippery 13. The first recalibration gave me a 13.2. The second recalibration and the third did not give me anything, and then I got 14. So pretty cheap one on over here, 3,800 to get the part. And over here I also had a hot head, so I needed to get the percentage at 8%, and I needed to get the slippery to 14, 23,000. All in all, not that bad. All in all, this drift car recalibration costed me a few $100,000, but not much more. So I can live with that. What I can't live with is with this thing here. The powerboat. This has, the perfect nitro setup. Extra pump 10%, pure 8%, nitro chemist set going on all of these things. If I bring up the Affix, you can see it, only 2 affixes available. That means I have the same affixes on all these 7 parts. Pure 66%, extra pump 75%. Of course, also here, always take in consideration this pilot icon menu. I have 25 points all over the place here, so I have they are also taken in consideration. But this thing here costed me between 5 and 6 million to recalibrate. If we go look on these parts here, 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 40,000. 3,300. And the simple reason for this one is I already had this part. I had nitro chemist, I had pure, I had extra pump. The only thing is, I think I even had extra pump 8%. So I only needed to change the extra pump from whatever percentage it was to 10, which took me 1 recalibration. I think I had 8.8. I do 1 recalibration, 2,500 bucks. It gives me the thing, or 2, the 2,800 as well, and it gives me the thing, and now the price is at 3,300, but I don't need it anymore because part is maxed out. 10,000 for this one. Here we had either the pure or the extra pump already on. We had to recalibrate for the other thing. So this one is also a pretty cheap one. And here we have 11,000. So the 3 last ones here, pretty okay. 3,000, 10,000, 8,000. But these first 4 were a big problem. The price is at 40,000, but it's not that I paid it once. No, I paid it 10, 15 times 40,000 on most of these parts here. This boat, to recalibrate it, costed me between 5 and 6 million bucks. That completely killed my whole summit thing, because I was doing also the videos, I posted them yesterday. I did the plane, which costed me about 2.2 million, something like that. Then I did the drift car, that was okay, a few $100,000. And then I did the power boat, which costed me 5 to 6 million. And then I was working on the plane, and there I even made the mistake of picking the wrong plane, because I was working on this aerobatic plane, and of course, although it is an aerobatic skill, I was looking at that, but there's no restriction, so people are actually using an air race plane. I'm like the only one using an aerobatic plane, but all in all, it's kind of okay. What I have on here is score breaker. Obviously, it's a skill test. You need score breaker. Score breaker doubles your amount of points. If you do a 10,000 run, you have score breaker set on it. It gives you 20,000 points. And then next to that, you need skilled. 10% on all 7 of them, because it gives you, I thought it was 80%, but you only get 5% from the pilot icon points. So it actually is 75% thing, I think, if I So the skilled is 75% on the maximum. That means skilled 10% on every single one of them and 25 points in the pilot menu. And then I wanted to do the tricky, 4%. I have that on, I think, 3 of these parts. Yep. And then we come to the fourth part, tricky 3.7. I need to pay 40,000 for a recalibration to get the 4%. I have 42,000. That is not working. Over here, I also have, meanwhile, found the tricky, but it's only at 2.7%. Price is a bit lower here at the moment, but still, I need to get that thing to 4%. Over here, I even have a bigger problem. The price is already at 20,000, and I still have reach on it. So I still need to find tricky. I can do, with the money that I have now, I can do 2 recalibrations. If I'm lucky, I can find the tricky, but then I still need to find the 4%. And the last one, sort of the same story. Here the price is already at 40,000. That's what it costed me to get the skill to 10%. And I need to change this magnificent into tricky to make it completely. So I need, again, I need a million or two just to do these. If I bad luck, can be a million, can be 2 million. I need to do these 4 last tricky to get this thing going. So that's 4 vehicles for the summit that I did. I completely broke. 11, 12 million I think I had completely gone. There are new cars in the game. The Devo, the Egoista. I cannot buy them, even if they are available in a bundle. I have no more bucks anymore. So I don't know if you really want to go into the summit and max out all your vehicles, because there are also some street stuff going on. If we're gonna have a look in the summit quickly. I scored 154,000 with that score breaker, and but yeah, as you can see already here, you all see people using blue planes. There's just one fool using an aerobatic plane, and his name is RaceMasterDave. But nevertheless, amongst my friends, I'm in the top 5, which is not that bad, because yeah, I don't have just any friends. I mean, these are Crew GNU, G-Force, Accor, Paraglider, GoPro IMAX. These are all pretty much Summit top players. So if I'm in 4th there with my aerobatic plane, of course it has to do with the fact that mine is scorebreaker skilled, which they probably not all have. The drift, the same story. I have that thing maxed out, which even puts me in 2nd place in the friends list. So not that bad. Overall, 26th overall with my keyboard settings. But the car is maxed out. I have hot hat, and mainly the slippery of course counts, because that's multiplier at maximum. The air race, not even that great, but 5th top 5 again in the friends list. So that is fine for me. I just can't get the thing under 120. Just need to get it a little bit faster, but that's something I might be able to work on from Tuesday on. I have like 1 day to play that night to get my last scores going. And then we have the proto boat. Yeah, there I have a problem with the settings of the boat itself. Although I'm in 6th place here in the friends list. I can look in the overall, but there are that varies from event to event. I usually go by the friends list because I have most of the competitive players on my friends list, so that is working. And that was sort of the vehicle that I could use, maxed out. Other than that, I used the plane that we used in this air race. I used that to do that speed trap. I managed to get what is it? 454 kilometers an hour. I just flew straight into the speed trap and just touched the ground on the moment where you have the camera. That is an opportunity. But of course, the top 10, 15, they are using boats. They are falling out of the sky with boats, but also that you need a lot of time to make that happen. The escape, pretty much a good run. I use a rally raid car. The only one I see here using something not Orange Family is G-Force. In the friends list, I also know that there are some other people meanwhile using hypercars. First place is 27,000 meters meanwhile. Okay, that's interesting. Might have a look on that if that thing ever wants to load. With a Suzuki GSX-R bike. I'm not so sure about that, to be honest. Might be possible if you got away to the highway or so, one way or another. But it's pretty simple. You can load the Ghost. He drives here with a streetcar 256. He does 27,000 meters. Already the car level that he has makes me think, really? I don't think so. But we will see. You can always go there and load the Ghost. Not going to accuse him for cheating yet, but it looks to me. The second place there is Huayra, one of the top sub players, and he's like 20,000 meters behind. Then you have already my doubts about this. That's how it goes. This first summit of this hotshot thing, and there are definitely cheaters out there here and there. Just a matter of picking them out of it. So all in all, we have these scores well over 100,000 points here. This is not the Nope driver. This is my main driver. On my second driver, the Nope driver, yeah, there I don't know where I am now. What I do know is that I am 10th overall in this thing, out of 13,240 players ranked on PC. This is PC. 5th in the leaderboards. That already explains it. That's what I see. I'm 5th in the leaderboard. Like I said, I have most of these competitive players on my friends list. So yeah, 5th in my friends list means 10th overall. So there are here and there. We have a Huayra, we have a V, we have Eliorias, Mushroom Kicker, Chris Fly. No idea who they are. Paraglider is just above me. Core G4, they are a bit away. But yeah, I'm kind of stuck here with the scores that I have. I can improve here and there, obviously, but I cannot, like the Street Race, the Alpha GP. Those scores are not maxed out with the recalibration because I don't have any money anymore. It's as simple as that. My bugs are gone, recalibrated. Let's say 3.5 vehicles because I'm still working on the plane. Although I have the score breaker and the skill, so okay, let's say we have done 4 vehicles. The tricky will not do that much to my score, so let's say I recalibrated 4 vehicles. The boat, the power boat, that is, and then the plane, the drift car, and the aerobatic plane, which of course, if I wanted to be a bit faster and score a bit more points, that needs to be an air race plane. But I can do that, same reason, I don't have any money anymore. That being said, I think we're sort of more or less done with it. A quick explanation on the settings. Kind of important because people constantly ask for them. I try to explain as much as I can. I'm not a tuner. I actually hate it when I have to spend hours in a garage tuning a car. But my advice would be just do it step by step. Take one car out. First of all, try to figure out which is the good settings for the first global ones. Because those first 4 global ones, they count for your whole discipline. So if you do that, for instance, in street race, it will count for all your street race. Traction control, the ESP, the ABS. Make sure you have that figured out yet. And then you just go by car by car. The car you drive it in free roam, adjust a little bit slider, see if it's better or worse, and go by that. Slider by slider. Don't change 5, 6 settings at one time because then you don't know, it might be better or worse, and you don't know which one of them actually did what it is that is happening. So go one by one. Change one slider, maybe even go extreme and put it like all the way to the left or all the way to the right and see what it does. If it's better or worse, what it actually does, try to figure it out. And then one step by step, after a while, you get the hang of it. And then you know already, like in my case, I already know I need to play around with the anti-roll bars and the aero, whatever car it is. And then we go from there. If it's some off-road vehicle, you're going to have to play around with the suspension to make that a bit more stiffer or so. So those are the things that you need to try to figure out. That will be it for this one. I will see you guys back, somewhere next week, I think. Not going to be much activity during the weekend on my video, on my channel, because I can't record, I can't do anything as a matter of fact. Can also not improve my summit scores because I will not have no internet till Tuesday. We'll see you guys Wednesday or later. Bye for now.